Holy cow! Okay, I'll be done being corny. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This week, we have adventured back out for another isolation camping adventure. We have decided to check out another nearby national forest that we haven't been to before. So I thought this week I could go through with you guys like how we find our parking spots, what are kind of the rules and regulations around free camping and van parking. I always start off by getting on the website of the national park or forest that we are headed to. So with the coronavirus and everything happening right now, I made sure to get on the forest website, make sure and read about all of their temporary closures and current dispersed camping procedures. So I called the ranger's office this morning just to double check. We are all set and good to go dispersed camping at this national forest this weekend. We're headed out there now. We're about a half hour out. So after talking to the ranger, I pulled up the maps of the park, looked around, and then Josh and I usually just kind of pick an area, put it in the GPS, head to that city, and then drive around through the forest till we find a spot that feels right. So I thought I would bring you guys along for spot scouting. We have never been out here before, so we'll see what we find. So we have made it to the area that we are looking for a spot in, and we have found ourselves a unpaved road. So we have ventured down said gravel road to see what we find. We do have to keep a pretty good eye out for posted private property signs. We do also look for mailboxes, building structures, things like that, just to make sure that we're not accidentally venturing onto private property. But generally speaking, when we find a unpaved road like this with a stop sign at the end, it is national land. This is usually how we start our search for campsites once we've made it to the area. We'll just kind of drive around. It's especially nice today. It's been a really beautiful drive. It's gorgeous out today. We are now on a dirt road, attempt number 3. This usually takes us probably 1 to 2 hours, just depending on how lucky we get. Usually it's not that hard for us to find free camping in a national forest, as you can usually camp at trailheads and things like that. But with all of those being closed right now, I'm kind of just driving around hoping we stumble upon something. Nothing yet, but we have seen a couple of signs pointing this direction, so we're hoping we should be coming up on something soon. But it's super pretty. Here, let me show you guys. What do you think, buddy? You think this is the road?
Yeah, I think it's leading somewhere.
Alright. So that's an option. There's also another little side road over here, and this road continues. We think maybe should we maybe go down the main road a little bit more, see if we find anything, and come back if we don't?
Yeah.
Okay, I think that sounds good. We have found this mysterious little pathway, and it looks like it might be clear back there, so let's see what we find. This always makes me so nervous. Is this Remington's first time off-roading?
Yeah.
I think this is Remington's first time off-roading. You got it, girl. Oh no.
You want to stop here?
Yeah. Made it about 2 feet. We're gonna walk the rest and see what we've got. Alright.
Should be a nice secluded spot.
We would have a whole yard, bud.
Yeah.
I think we struck gold. This might be the spot, guys. Okay. This is literally so perfect.
Yep, this is it. Found it.
Spot secured. Now we just got to get the van back here. All right. Oh, she's so excited. So this is our yard for the week. I think Haley approves. I definitely approve. Morning coffee here is gonna be great. It's kind of getting chilly. I'm gonna grab my jacket. And just like that, we're home. We also have full service at this spot, which like never happens. Yeah. Camp Spot Gold. You happy, girl? Are you happy, girl? We've got forest over here, a nice yard, and we are nice and secluded from like the main road too. I think this is like by far the most private spot we've ever had as well. I'm just very excited. This was a good find. I'm glad you guys got to come along for this one. How long do you think did we spend searching for a spot?
Hour and a half.
Not too bad. We've definitely spent way longer in the past. So have fun, bud. You gonna go help Dad? Josh and Haley are out looking for firewood, so I thought now would be a good chance to chat with you guys. Very excited with this find. Since I showed you guys a little bit of the process that we typically use to find a camp spot, I thought I could like talk a little bit more about where we park on a regular basis. I did have a good friend of mine leave a comment on one of my videos asking me to share a little bit more information about like where we park or like our van life rules of sorts. And this is like a very broad question, and I think it would be better explained if I broke it down into like 3 categories for you guys. Category number 1 is dispersed or free like wilderness camping. So Josh and I have definitely become major fans of national forests when we're looking for wilderness camping. You can stay primitive camping, dispersed camping, free up to 2 weeks. And there are a certain number of restrictions on how many days you can stay within so many miles of the same area per month as well. Each national forest is different, and each national forest has its own set of rules and regulations regarding campfires, things like that. So make sure you check their website. Worst case scenario, give the ranger's office a call, reach out to them and ask questions. It is very important to make sure that you are following all the rules and guidelines. I wanted to give you guys a few tips in finding spots in national forests. Since this is kind of our favorite place to find spots, we have narrowed down a couple of little tricks that help us find forest roads a little bit easier. Any gravel roads with a stop sign at the end is usually where we'll start. We've had a lot of luck with those in the past. Another thing to note, national forest land can be bought and made private property. So down these roads, even if you do see homes at first, if you go further down these roads, a lot of times after those initial couple of houses, you will get to just kind of a really long gravel road that goes on for a while. This is typically a sign that you are in primitive camping territory. Sometimes this is hit or miss. Today it took us, I want to say we tried 3 or 4 different roads before we found this one. So don't give up. The spots are out there. It takes a little bit of work, but it is well worth it, guys. Well worth it. Like I cannot wait to drink my tea here tonight, guys. Oh my gosh. Okay. Another thing I wanted to touch on with national forest camping with you guys is pack in and pack out. Like seriously, Josh and I have been noticing this a ton lately, but people just seem to use these beautiful national lands to just like drive through and dump all their trash. So if that's you, please stop. You pack your trash out with you and throw it away when you get home. It's not that hard. I just really wanted to touch on that because I saw so much trash today while we were driving around, and I'm just still a little bit salty about it. So with that being said, if you are planning on dispersed camping, make sure you bring everything you need, food, water, things like that, and make sure you bring a shovel if you are not bringing a portable toilet. I think this particular spot is about 10 miles or so off of the nearest main road, so we are pretty out here. We did luck out with the cell service. That doesn't usually happen for us, so I don't know if it's just the WeBoost or if we actually just have cell service, so I can't really tell. So that pretty much covers where Josh and I do our parking when we are out traveling or exploring the wilderness. You can pretty much always find us camped at a national forest. So that brings us to category number 2. So where do we park when we're at home? So we do base ourselves out of Columbus, Ohio, and when we are there, we do have a few set spots that we kind of tend to gravitate towards. So we do have a lot of friends and family in the Columbus area, so that has been a great resource for us for parking. And during the day, we park wherever we're at. You can kind of park anywhere that parking is allowed. The part that can get a little bit dicey is like sleeping in your car. So the rules on sleeping or living in your car parked on a city street differ from city to city. So again, just depending on where you're at, make sure you check rules and regulations. We have never really had any issues with this. So when we do street park at night, we have a couple of rules that we like to follow to make sure that we're going to be in a safe space, not bothering anyone, and hopefully avoid any late night visitors or knocks on the door. So when we find street parking, we look for a semi-quiet street. Sleeping with a lot of loud street traffic can get a little bit annoying, so we do try to find side streets, streets with less traffic. We try to avoid parking in front of anyone else's home as not to steal their parking spot. We don't want anyone to call and report like, hey, there's a creepy white van parked outside my house. And the last thing that we try and do to make sure that our street parking is stealthy is that we don't travel to the spot that we're sleeping until we are ready to go to bed. We don't want to be making any noise, have our lights be visible, so usually we'll have the bed already set up, drive to the spot, park, go to sleep, get up first thing in the morning and head out, and it really never seems to be an issue. The stealthier of a van that you have, the easier this is. In our last van, after parking, we could not get from the cab to the back without getting out of the vehicle. So having this pocket door in this build has been super, super amazing in helping us remain stealthy and unnoticed when we're parking in the city. And the third category that I wanted to cover with you guys in regards to parking is when we are traveling to a city that we have never been to before and don't really know anybody in. At this point, I have a couple of resources that I usually dig into to kind of get more information. People can post places that they've camped overnight for free. They'll post pictures, reviews, ratings, rules and restrictions. So a lot of times as we are starting to near a new city that we're planning on stopping in, I will start digging through the app, trying to find options of places that other people have recommended or had success parking overnight. Resources like this have been super, super amazing, and I highly recommend using them. It just makes everything a little bit more easy, and it lets me sleep a little bit easier at night to know that someone else has tried the campsite before and had a positive experience with it. Walmart parking lots are a good one. They have started cracking down on overnight parking at Walmarts, so do check the posted signs in the parking lots of any Walmarts that you are planning on staying overnight. Rest areas are also another good spot to sleep at night, especially if you are just passing through. Again, I have noticed they're starting to put like 3-hour limits on rest areas. Apparently now you can only rest for 3 hours. So again, watch for posted signs. So those are kind of our official, unofficial, like parking rules that we try and live by. It can get a little bit stressful, especially when you're arriving to a city later in the evening or you're really tired. So we do try and plan ahead before we leave, so that way we can make sure that we are there at least 3 hours before sunset. We just try and buy ourselves that extra few hours of daylight just in case something goes wrong. So finding places to park is a huge part of van life, and we do spend a good amount of time every day figuring out our parking situation. I have never really felt unsafe in any place that we've parked, but I do try to listen to my intuition about spots that we find. Even if there's absolutely no reason that it shouldn't feel right, if it doesn't feel right, I personally always think it's better to just move on. If there's another spot out there, that spot obviously wasn't doing it for you. And Josh and I both think it is super important to find a camp spot that we both feel comfortable in. Our first couple of months in the van were a little bit more stressful. We were still getting used to having to think about these things. When we took our first road trip in the van, our first couple of stops, we had a lot of trouble finding spots. Hopefully, if anyone watching this video is thinking of trying van life or is new to van life, that some of these tips are helpful for you guys. We've been so grateful that dispersed camping and primitive camping in national forests has been allowed during this time. It has made this whole lockdown so much more comfortable for us, and I feel so blessed and grateful that I get to have such a beautiful backyard today. So we are going to settle in for the evening. Josh is going to build us a fire, we'll have dinner, and just enjoy the rest of the night. If you guys liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I put out new videos every Sunday, but if you want, you can go ahead and hit that little bell and you will get notified every time a new video goes live. I am going to go enjoy the sun, and I will see you guys next Sunday.